Well, we got a secret.
Ooh, what's that, Norm?
We got the inside scoop on some rail travel, knowing the difference of the different train trips. We've done two, and we're going to spill the beans.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
So, what are the two trips we took, Teen?
We have taken the Canadian train, which was with Via Rail, and the California Zephyr with Amtrak.
So, two competing rail companies, Teen, both what you would call in Canada a crown corporation
Yeah.
and possibly a government organization or government sponsored organization in the US.
Hmm.
So we did the Canadian train trip, which is Toronto to Vancouver. Takes 3 nights, and the Amtrak is just slightly less. Chicago to California is the direction we went, and that is 2 nights.
I think one of the things they both share in common is that they have a very nice lounge that you can go in before you board the train. I think that kind of gives you a nice start to the trip.
Yeah, the business
Yeah.
lounges are really, really great,
Hmm.
and both Via Rail in Toronto and Amtrak in Chicago had very nice first class, business class lounges. And if you have a sleeper class ticket, you get to go in them.
Yes. Now, there was the odd difference, wasn't the Norm, that we did get more sort of coffee and snacks in Chicago
Hmm.
than we did maybe in Toronto. We did get drinks, we got coffee there. And one other little plus I was going to say is that you could buy an alcoholic drink in Chicago in their lounge, which was very nice, wasn't it?
Yes, and you can't
Yeah,
do that in Via Rail in Toronto.
no.
On two parts of the ledger, I would kind of say that Amtrak wins on the business lounge.
Yeah.
They call it the Metropolitan Lounge. It was on 3 levels, very clean, very welcoming host at the reception,
Yeah.
and they allowed us to store our bags in the luggage
Oh,
storage room
yes,
for
yes.
no cost
Yeah,
while we went and explored half a day in Chicago.
that was great,
That
wasn't
was
it?
very good.
Yeah, that
And
was good.
and Amtrak provided way more food. They were packaged snacks, packaged muffins, and crisps and chips and stuff like that. But what we noticed for probably an hour or so that we were in there, maybe 2 hours, they kept topping them up,
Yeah,
didn't they?
yeah. It was very enjoyable and nice sofas and chairs to sit in, very relaxing.
And the Via Rail, all they had was basically an apple that you could
Yeah.
get,
And
and
coffee, didn't
coffee
they?
and
So,
juice
yeah,
and soda.
so we actually had to take our own breakfast there to have.
Once on the train, you'll notice that both Via Rail and Amtrak have vintage rail cars. And funnily enough, the sleeper car that we were in on Amtrak was built by Bombardier in Quebec. So Via Rail has similar cars as well. So, so you're not going to be getting brand new accommodations. The Via Rail ones have been around since 1955 to 57, and the sleeper cars in Amtrak are certainly showing their age. Um, and they both have dome cars too, so you're going to see
Hmm.
the sights.
Through the dome cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we are maybe looking to sort of talk a little bit by putting them into categories. And one of the first ones, maybe we'll start with Norm, is like the food and beverages.
When you buy a sleeper class ticket, food is included because you're going to be on the
Mhm.
train. It's going to continue moving. There's no opportunity to get off and go to a restaurant. So you're going to be eating the food that's on the train. Via Rail has done a very good job of having white tablecloths, silver service, providing what you would call a restaurant quality
Hmm.
meal with an innovative menu. Um, and we felt the food choices were very good.
We did, didn't we?
How about Amtrak?
I think although Amtrak did present the food on plates too, which was nice, we found there wasn't quite that same possibly quality. And also one thing was their menu didn't change the whole time. It was the same menu for the whole time we were on the trip. So that was a little bit more limiting on the food.
Whereas Via Rail
Yeah.
did change their menu.
Yes, they did.
The other thing that gives Amtrak a bit of a tick for Tina and I is that during dinner service, you get to choose an alcoholic drink or a soft drink, a soda,
Yeah.
free of charge, included in the ticket. Whereas Via Rail, you had to buy your beer and wine, and they had marked the price to $10 each for a wine or beer. So there's that. We also felt that the wait service, the servers on Via Rail was slightly more professional than the Amtrak servers. But both rail companies did a great job at feeding you.
Yes, they did, didn't they?
They really did. And they both had their advantages. So, yeah, Via Rail probably more expensive dishes. They did that big lamb chop, didn't they?
That was really nice.
Which was good. So, from a food point of view, you won't starve.
No.
And Amtrak do a really good job. And we're talking after COVID.
Yes.
Our trip was in June 2023.
I think another thing too that we should mention too, just small things, but still on the beverage side. Amtrak did a great job of providing us with bottled water, and 24-hour coffee, which was really very nice. A plus with Via, which was probably a bit of a highlight for both of us too, was they kind of did a champagne and hors d'oeuvre reception, which was lovely.
And they did that twice in the trip. So coming out of Toronto in the first hour or so, they did have these canapes where the staff would come around, and they also had sparkling wine, which was a nice touch. And then they repeated that again when you left Jasper. So there was another round of sparkling wine. And if you were friendly and on good terms with the staff, they would top you up
quite a few
two
times.
or three times.
Which was really nice.
It was.
And I guess the other nice touch with Via Rail was that at night time, when they turned the beds down, they put a little chocolate on your pillow.
Now, talking about nighttime, what we found was on Amtrak you had to request to have your stateroom made up to a bed, and our attendant was only doing it between the hours of 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Whereas on the Via Rail, it was as if there was secret people, like fairies coming in. So we would go for dinner at the early sitting, and we'd get back and our beds were all made up.
That was a real nice touch, wasn't it?
It was.
Yes.
So
I think another big group that we should talk about is the accommodations that are available on both Via and Amtrak.
Right. So we opted for a bedroom on Via Rail, and it was very good. It very clean, and very enjoyable. We had an accessible room on the Amtrak, because if you book within 14 days of the train leaving and they haven't been able to sell the accessible room to a disabled passenger, then they open that up for anybody to buy, because they obviously want the revenue. In our particular train on Amtrak, we found it very worn, the room. So it just needed a really good cleaning, but it needed to be renovated. It is long past its date to go in and have a good renovations. The public bathrooms were disappointing.
Yes,
They
they were, weren't they?
they were.
They aren't really what you would expect.
No.
Whereas on Via Rail, we will say that their cleanliness on the showers and all the toilet areas was first class.
Yeah, and talking about the
Yeah,
showers, we liked how Via Rail gave you your bath towels.
yeah.
So when you might have seen in one of our videos, there was actually a large plastic bag
It's like
that
your own kit,
looked like
wasn't
a
it?
gift bag, and in there was a couple of towels,
Yeah,
your soap and shampoo, and that was personal.
yeah,
Tina and I
we,
both had one
yeah,
each, so that we took our towels to the shower. There wasn't a stock of towels in the shower room.
no,
So that meant that the shower room wasn't as cluttered on Via Rail. Whereas on Amtrak, the towels were in the shower room, and it just appeared to be a little smaller and more cluttered. And on our last day, we went for a shower in the morning, and there was no towels.
no,
So
that wasn't good, was it?
we preferred how Via Rail was doing it. Was giving you these
Yeah,
packages, and as you used the towels, your package was updated again.
yeah, because you left your wet towels in the shower room. Then when the attendant came into your room to make it up, they would refresh your towels and give you all nice clean ones, which was very nice.
Yes, it
We
was.
liked, wasn't it? We
But
liked that.
we did prefer the complimentary water on Amtrak. We thought
Yes.
that was a very good touch. We do drink a lot of water,
Yeah.
and we think that Via Rail could maybe incorporate that into their ticket price.
Yes. And now, as Norm said, we took a sleeper cabin, but there are other options for you on both Amtrak and Via. You can get what they call a coach seat, which is almost basically like a big airline
Hmm.
seat that you're in, and they are very economical.
Yes, they are.
And there was definitely plenty of people on the coach seats. And they also have something they call roomettes, which weren't quite as big as what we had.
No,
Um, but
but
they
it's
had,
two bunk
yeah,
beds.
2 bunk beds.
But there was no
So,
bathroom facilities
no,
in there.
but it's another option to stay in, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah,
and more economical. The other thing that Via Rail has done, and it's surprising maybe Amtrak couldn't incorporate it, is they have a prestige class on Via Rail. It's very expensive, but it's pretty exclusive, so that you get your alcohol included during the trip. You also get an observation car in the height of the season to yourselves, just prestige passengers. And the prestige passengers get a complete double bed that is made up for you. So it's a larger room, and there's many perks, but it's an exclusive area of the train, and maybe it's something that we felt that Amtrak could equally
yeah, sort
offer.
of offer something like that.
Because the older you get, I'm still relatively fit, but getting onto these top bunks, especially on Amtrak with the slightly lower ceilings than Via Rail, you end up banging your head as you're trying to
Get into
wrestle
a
your way
swan.
into the sheets.
Yeah, but I think you did a great job, Norm.
Well, thank you, Tina.
And I think one thing that possibly we could throw in there was we did have room service for one of our meals in Amtrak, and we did enjoy that very much.
We thought the presentation was
Yeah,
absolutely first class. They came with the brown carrier bag, paper carrier bag, with our meals included, and they had plastic domes over the plates. We were able to order alcohol, and our room attendant brought that as a package. And there was a table in our
Yes.
room on Amtrak, whereas on the Via Rail, there wasn't a table to dine at. There was a cover for the sink that you could put stuff on, but overall, we felt the in-room dining was so much easier on Amtrak, and it was something they actively offered. Whereas on Via Rail, I believe you would have to request it.
Yeah.
It isn't offered at every meal service over the public address system.
But we believe it is available even though we didn't have it.
No, we didn't.
No.
We saw it was pointless because
There was no
no
table. So we wondered what we would eat it on, didn't we?
That's right. Another important part of the trip are the stops. It's nice to be able to get off the train and stretch your legs.
It is.
So, in comparison, what did we think about that, Teen?
Well, I think with Amtrak, the stops were very brief. Basically, they were kind of like a smoke break. And I would say 5 minutes. Very few stops were 10 minutes. Most of them, I would say, were 5 minutes, weren't they? So you basically get off, get some fresh air, literally walk up and down a bit, and then they're blowing the all aboard and you're back on the train because you don't want to miss it.
Whereas the Via Rail, they have a couple of stops that can be up to 2 hours.
Yes.
And we took a lot of advantage of the one in Jasper to actually get off the train, walk into the town, which is just there, go to Tim Hortons.
Oh, it was great.
Have a breakfast there and walk around the town.
Yes.
And then go back to the train, and there was still plenty of time before it departed. And Winnipeg, we were meant to have something similar, but we had been delayed quite a bit. So there was probably only half an hour in Winnipeg.
Yeah, and we were supposed to have over 2 hours there, but so we really didn't get to see very much there.
So we think that Via Rail really shines. They still have their 5-minute smoke breaks.
Yeah, the smoke breaks.
But they do build in a couple of larger stops where you can go and explore. Like Winnipeg Station was quite beautiful to see.
And it might have been nice for us to have gone into Denver Station because we hadn't been there before, and it would have been nice to see, but it was kind of made quite clear that there wasn't even time to just walk into the station. They have a schedule and they are on board with keep going, aren't they?
Yeah, they had a situation where they had to remove a car in Denver.
They had to unhook it or something,
yeah,
didn't they?
So that chewed into all the time that we would have had.
Yeah, because we weren't allowed off the train, were we?
We weren't.
No.
So from a stops point of view, the Via Rail is a little more sympathetic because you can go and have an hour's walk, which is pretty nice. And we did miss on Amtrak places like Reno where they've dug a trench and basically buried the rail line way down from street level, so we never got a chance to even glimpse.
We didn't get to see anything there, did we?
No, just a concrete wall.
I think one thing we should talk about to do with the stops as well is the scenery. I would say on both trips, the scenery is absolutely stunning.
Absolutely.
There definitely are areas, for example, on Via Rail, it takes, was it almost like a day and a bit to get out of Ontario? It took quite a while to get out of Ontario.
And it's not the most scenic of countryside in northern Ontario.
No. But as it progressed, the scenery got more diverse and a lot more interesting. And I think after we had stopped in Jasper, then in the Rockies, that was just absolutely breathtaking for us, wasn't it?
But we found beauty in a lot of the different areas.
Yeah.
So going through Utah and Nevada, unusual landscapes, some of it almost lunar-like.
It was.
Salt flats.
Wasn't it?
But there's curiosity and beauty in that. just in the same way as going through Manitoba and Saskatchewan, the prairies, you know, big skies, grain elevators every now and then. So both of those had beauty for us and
Yeah.
interest, but the real action happens when you get into the Rockies.
Oh, yes.
So from Jasper, as Tina said, we were fortunate. We went there in March of this year, and there was still snow on the ground. There was snow in the mountains, and it added drama to it. In leaving Denver, just going up to 9,000 feet, and how the train has to snake up the hills. We saw some elk.
We did.
Which we never saw on the Via Rail. We didn't see wildlife.
No, we didn't, did we?
And going through the Moffat Tunnel.
That was cool.
It really was. And then continuing over the Donner Pass into California. Absolutely stunning scenery. Especially all the people mooning us on the Colorado River.
Oh my goodness, that was so much fun, wasn't it?
And they don't appear to be extremely attractive people.
And it came over the loudspeakers that they said that there was nothing they could do to stop the people doing it, but they did say it was almost like an offence and not advisable for anybody on the train to do it back, didn't they? It was really quite funny. It was quite a laugh, wasn't it?
It was. And we did get a commentary from the conductor on Amtrak of any interesting places that would come across the public address system. The driver of the Amtrak train would radio back to him if he spotted any wildlife, so that we were all on the lookout for it. And on Via Rail, we had a very good attendant in the dome car, and he was just the life and soul of the party.
He was great, wasn't he? The commentary.
And could tell us about anything and where we were and what we were passing.
Yeah.
So both wins for both companies. And, you know, we wouldn't choose one over the other. We would recommend do both of them because they're both charming. They're both wonderful journeys.
They are. And I think another thing that you need to look at as a sort of category is pricing versus seasonal. We did the Via Canadian train in March, as Norm said. So this was off-season. So we got an unbelievable deal, which allowed us to go in the dome car. There were no restrictions. We could be in there all the time because it was off season. Had we done that in June, there would have been a lot more restrictions. We wouldn't have been able to go in the dome car. Whereas with Amtrak, that we've just done for the California Zephyr, yes, there were some restrictions. They were asking you not to spend all day in the dome car. But remember, it's later on. So as the seasons had moved on, that was June. So we're comparing two trips, one in March and one in June.
And they're two different price points, even within the same company. So I think what Tina is saying is that we got a really good deal in March on Via Rail. It was on sale. They do these from time to time. But had we traveled in June on Via Rail, it would have been more money than Amtrak.
Oh, a lot more money, yes.
And as Tina said, we wouldn't be allowed to go into the dome car until after 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Which I think that probably would have spoiled it for me.
Yes.
Whereas we really enjoyed being in the dome car on Amtrak. It was nice.
And in June on Amtrak, they did say that there was a 2-hour limit and they would enforce it if there were people looking for seats, but they never did. And there was really a good turnover of people Everybody was conscious that
Yeah.
they didn't want to
I think-
hog the seats.
No, I think everybody was respectful
Very.
of all the other guests. That after you'd been up there a couple of hours, everybody said, okay, we'll go back to our cabin, or we'll go back and have lunch in the diner.
Yeah.
So we all worked at rotating so that everybody could get in there. And it worked really well, didn't it?
Now, the one thing on Amtrak, which is better than Via Rail, is that coach class customers who had just got a seat to sit in are allowed in the dome car, whereas on Via Rail, they're not. They almost cut the train in half, and on our train there was a notice from the coach into the sleeper class saying do not enter. It was for sleeper class only. So, you know, that's something to take into account as well.
But I think they did have their own sort of version of a smaller dome car, didn't they?
It was.
It was like a smaller one, but it wasn't what we all had in the sleeper car.
No.
And they certainly didn't encourage anybody to go from coach to sleeper, did they?
No, they didn't.
Whereas with Amtrak, everybody could go in, couldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was great. And we did like finding our secret window on Amtrak, didn't we?
We did, which is no longer available on Via Rail.
No, but we got knowledge of the window on the back car.
The very end.
Oh, what a view. Just
Stunning.
Unbelievable, wasn't it?
And for us making a video, it was just the perfect shot. So we went there a couple of times to do that.
Yeah, and it was also probably one of the cleanest windows on the train.
It really
so
was.
no one was thrilled with that, hey?
Whereas on Via Rail, the Transport Safety Board in Canada has made Via Rail put 2 rail cars on the back of their Canadian train as a buffer, I guess, to collisions. And so now you can't see out the back of the train, whereas they have this beautiful rail car with a curved end with windows all around. But now you can only see a rail car behind you, which
it's a shame. But I guess it's there for safety reasons, isn't it? So.
Yeah. So that's our impression of having done 2 long train journeys. Don't be put off by the motion. You can wear earplugs. We never had to. We fell asleep.
Yeah, we didn't need any earplugs.
The rocking of the train is very therapeutic. And we didn't end up with either of the train trips. Maybe we're just the luck of the Irish, I don't know. But we weren't stuck in sidings for hours on end waiting for the goods trains to come by who have priority on both rail line systems in America and Canada. The longest we were ever stationary waiting for a train to come by was 15 or 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't very long, was it?
It really wasn't.
No.
So both of them arrived relatively on schedule. One of the things I really liked about Amtrak was the bus transfer from Emeryville to San Francisco. For the 2 of us, in total, it was $11. And it took us all the way downtown. Traffic was horrendous in San Francisco, but the bus was able to take the bus lane and got us there in no time at all.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
An Uber would have taken us hours.
And I think if you have enjoyed our video, one thing that we would really like you to do is to subscribe to our channel. And if you can give us the like button, it really does help our channel to grow.
And it doesn't cost you anything to do that. But you would be amazed at how you would be helping us grow our channel and find a wider YouTube audience. So we hope that everybody is keeping well.
And staying safe.
And until the next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.